Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Coco Bandicoot here, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of WarioWare Move It for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we essentially did manage to tackle through two more stages, ranging from Dribble and Spit, and of course, without a doubt, is my favorite stage in the whole entire game, alongside with the rest of the forms of the WarioWare games for that matter. That's of course 9 Volt. So as a result, despite the fact that we are missing one microgame in Dribble and Spit stage, but luckily I did manage to able to encounter every single microgames in 9 Volt stage, because obviously though, as I said before, I really do enjoy 9 Volt stage as it is, especially because of all its Nintendo references, and sense about the fact that I'm still a huge Nintendo fanatic, including the forms of Sonic the Hedgehog stuff as to be expected. So, anyways though, in addition to that, we did somehow manage to able to get ourselves the best scoring points when it comes to the forms of this entire playthrough so far, and as a result we somehow got 60 points in 9 Volt stage, which is actually pretty fantastic all things considered. So anyway, today for this video is about the fact that we are straight to the point that we're now entering into the final stretch of the main story playthrough, and because of that, here we go on to Remix 2, which is basically the exact same stage as Remix 1, except the biggest difference is this time we are now going to be focusing on several micro games based off from Katanana, Cricket and Mantis, Jimmy T, Dribble and Spit, and finally 9 Volt. So as a result, much like the forms of how it does it in Remix 1, we're about to be utilizing multi-form, and as a result, we're about to catch a ride on the bus once again. So, without further ado, let's get into Remix 2.
Maybe if we all pull together.
I'm on it! And pull! And pull!
Ouchie-buzz!
Harsh vibes, man!
What a stroke of luck! We landed on a tour bus!
Let's go!
And of course, like last time, is about the fact that we somehow ended up landing on the bus itself, and this time we can now see neon lights in the background. So, you know, think of like the forms of how the fact that in Remix 1, it does manage to take place in daytime, whilst in Remix 2, it's now taking place in the nighttime. So, obviously though, because like I said before, we can now see neon lights in journey forms of being side to side with that particular environment, if you couldn't tell. So, obviously though, it's about the fact that much like in Remix 1, we now need to utilize with the forms of Trust Tether sign. So because of that though, because again, you have to let go, or to be more specifically, you have to able to just try to let go of the controller in order to able to actually make those specific stuff work, well, for the most part anyway. So, anyways though, a few things I want to talk about is about the fact that, well, today's date of course there is the 21st of July today, in some cases in 2024 today, and relatively speaking though is about the fact that we've only got about 5 more days to go until the Paris Olympics 2024 Summer Olympics is about to start, and because of that though, well, suffice to say, is about the fact that once we get to next week, that the uploading schedules might change around slightly, to be more specifically, not only for WarioWare Move It, but as well as the forms of Sonic Rush Adventure as well. Well, I suppose suffice to say that we'll let Ray the Flying Squirrel will mention more details about the forms of other stuff worth noting for, to be more specifically once we get to next week. So, also, something's worth classifying for mentioning about this is that, you know with the forms of that Mario Pinball Land microgame we've already come across into earlier, well, I love that specific detail where, depending on what Joy-Con controllers you're going to be using, like for example, if you try to utilize with the blue and red, Joy-Con controllers, it actually shows you about the fact that you're currently going to be using the blue and red Joy-Con controllers, and as a result we can able to actually see this very well detailed Joy-Con replicas as you know, flippers, and as a result I found it was a little bit fascinating to see that particular you know, the graphics and stuff like that during that specific recreated for, you know, certain other stuff as far as I'm aware. So anyways though, so let's just go ahead and move along, and suffice to say, can I still, oh, I somehow did. So yeah, I have to able to turn my body around in order able to just trying to do that, or to be more specifically, just trying to turn around, and that's all I can really do for this point. So anyways, let's go and avoid those rocks right here. And that should be good to go. And of course, just like the Fonz of how it does it on Remix 1, every single micro games we have to come across into, all of them are basically level 3 variant. So now I'm almost going to be able to try to give myself my next game over, which I'm hoping that's not the case. And just like the Fonz of how it does on the Remix 1 stage, I'm obviously going to be going into Remix 2 within only one run only, because obviously though we are almost nearly at the end of this basically. So anyway, so we're now going back on to that familiar boss micro game based off from Catanano stage, and except this time we are now going to be doing with this in level 3 variant of this boss micro game. It's a shame we've never come across into level 2 variants at this rate, just because, like I said before, our performance in Catanano stage is pretty rough. So no matter what though, we are going back onto Uniform Distributor. So, and this one things gets really tricky, especially now that the dog is now shown up. But regardless of such though, I still managed able to pull this off no problem. So there we go, Remix 2 is done, and suffice to say we can now move on to the final stage.
That was awesome, Bullibus! Can you throw us all again?
Well, they somehow got tossed apparently again, which I think, relatively speaking though, is about the fact that they're having fun getting tossed apparently. So either way, so now let's head on to the final stage right here on this Volcano Mountains, and apparently though, Wario is going to be involved with this. So something tells me about the fact that it may look like not only do we have to do with multi-form, but something tells me about the fact that much like the previous WarioWare games, we might able to actually go into this specific catalog, which appears to be anything goes, much like the forms of how it does on the previous WarioWare games. Like for instance, we can able to come across into some familiar micro games based off on the very first stage of the game, which is of course Wario himself. So I suppose we'll be able to actually just try to figure something out how that particular stage plays out to be. But either way though, this is a grand finale in terms of the regular story stages, so let's jump right in.
Lava at first sight. I knew it! Give me all the gold right now! Gimme, gimme, gimme! I'll just start with the biggest one first. Huh? Ah! What's happening?
So, the seal has been broken.
Elder!
To lift the curse and calm the mountain, we must all dance.
Did you say dance?
Jimmy's got you covered on the moving and grooving.
Let's help him out! Yeah, this'll be great, everyone! Let's dance!
Oh my god, not only about the fact that Wario did somehow turn into Volcano Wario of all things, but get this, we're gonna have to do a lot of dancing. But before we get into that though, as you can tell, yes, as to be expected, we might come across into some familiar micro games based off from Wario stage in the intro games department. So because of that though, yeah, nothing new for this point, apart from the fact that we will come across into new micro games we can able to actually play around with. Like for instance, I've almost gonna mess up on that particular hand model one right there, but luckily I did manage to able to accomplish that no problem, and we'll check the watch to see if that's gonna be the real one. As a result, it's going to be on the left. So yeah, if you're trying to able to keep on doing successful enough, if you're trying to able to complete several micro games in a row, basically, as you can tell, not only a lot of people decide to get invited, but also certain elephants are also going to be invited as well to able to help out the forms of trying to stop, you know, Volcano Wario. So yeah, very unexpected when it comes to that particular transformation, all things considered. And also, just like the forms of how it does it in WarioWare Get It Together, basically though, we have to do the specific, segments where basically we have to do things rather than just trying to deal with any other micro games. Like, as you can tell, we need to dance to deflect that particular meteor rock. And because of that though, yeah, it kind of reminds me like a similar vibes as in Get It Together, when we're trying to able to take on the forms of that particular, well, let's just say the Wario bug from the likes of in Get It Together, with all that particular virus thing on the actual game bug and stuff like that. So, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that basically it's kind of similar, except we can't able to take control of any other character, so we have to able to do a lot of moving involved, because, you know, get it with the subtitle of the game called Move It. So yeah, you probably get the idea of how this is going to turn out. So, and eventually though, this is where the game starts to get a little bit more difficult, especially concerning for the fact that not only does several micro games will throw you off at one point, but whenever I first got to this stage, basically though, it honestly did took me about a couple of tries to able to succeed it when I first time playing it, especially that I've somehow stumbled across into myself, not one, but 3 game overs, which as a result, I have to use 3 continues. So because of that though, but again, this is your last chance, by the way, to able to actually stumble across into ourselves the, well, you know what I'm talking about with all that particular secret pose thing in order to able to continue your progressioning on your first time run through of the actual specific stage. And because of that though, yeah, basically though, yeah, you probably get the idea what I was expecting, especially because, then again, we've only come across into 2 game overs so far, especially because, you know, sometimes motion controls can be hit and miss, or there might be a couple of times that I didn't pay attention to several objectives or anything else on certain capacity. So, but I get the feeling about the fact that we need to make our way to number 21, I'm pretty sure anyway. So expecting about the fact that this stage is going to be much longer. So because of that though, yeah, let's just go ahead and get into the van as quickly as I possibly could, which thankfully I've already accomplished that. And gee, that's a lot of people involved. And oh geez, that was a close one. In fact, it kind of reminds me like a similar micro game as the forms of, let's just say, WarioWare Gold almost, except the fact that obviously that was about the fact that we're now utilizing Joy-Cons instead of, you know, using the 3DS itself. So, let's go some fishing. And we caught one, so that should be all pretty swell. And now we come to the final boss micro game in the whole entire game, and this one actually requires attention. And wait a minute, this micro game looks familiar, doesn't it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is basically a sequel to Wario Dance Company since WarioWare Smooth Moves, ultimately named Super Wario Dance Company, which as a result, it looks very similar to Wario Dance Company since WarioWare Smooth Moves, except now we have to use the Joy-Con controllers instead of just one Wii Remote. So, really? Ah, gosh darn it, man. Oh well, I suppose we should probably try this again, aren't I? But, yeah, whenever I first saw this, and I was like, oh, that explains why, that we have to do with a lot of dancing involved. Especially because we're going back into this rhythm-themed, boss micro game ever since, and technically, in WarioWare Gold, especially concerning that WarioWare Gold has a combination of, different, control schemes, like, mash, as well as, twist, and even, touch, as well. And occasional blows as well, which as a result, yeah, you probably get the idea what I was expecting to mention about that. So, oh geez, I did not notice there was actually a partner companion this time around. So, that was very unexpected. Mind you, I do need to get used to with the new movements, because for whatever reason, I just, you know, pretty much used to with WarioWare Smooth Moves counterparts, because mind you, I pretty much know the actual patterns inside out. Well, depending on what level difficulty you go into. I couldn't imagine about the fact that if I was trying to do this on level 3, it will be extremely insanely difficult. But apart from those side things though, I'm doing alright on my second attempt anyway. Unlike the first attempt though, that, my goodness, my controller does not act out very well. But there we go. Volcano Wario stage is done, and let's watch the ending.
Wario! What all is?
With the curse lifted and the mountain appeased, all lived on happily ever after.
Why? Not me! Worst vacation ever!
Well, it looks like Wario's got trapped in that particular hole bit, which as a result he can't get out, so meaning about the fact that I have nothing else to say of what's gonna happen to Wario right there. And of course, just like the forms of how it does on the previous WarioWare games, after when you've completed the final stage in the game, obviously it once again just shows us the actual roll call of any other cast with all these WarioWare gang of characters, as you can tell. So, relatively speaking though, about the fact I'm sure enough though, they'll still have a great time with the forms of Cares Away Island. So either way though, I'll get to my final thoughts of this game until let's say until next Thursday coming up, because as far as I'm aware, like I said before, that the uploading schedules for next week is going to change up a little bit. So just in case about the fact that for a perfect opportunity for a huge event coming up, to be more specifically something relates to Paris Olympics and stuff like that. But either way though, that's as far as saying goes, yeah, that's as far as I can try to able to explain about this particular solution and stuff like that. So anyway, so of course we're not exactly done with this just yet though, because as you can tell, once you beat the game once, you're able to not only unlock the staff credits, but also we can now able to actually access to the next island, which actually leads us to some additional content. So as a result, yeah, we'll talk more about these until, to be more specifically, until next Tuesday, because, you know, like I said, the uploading schedules will change up a little bit for the likes of next week. So either way though, so as you can tell about the fact that unfortunately though, I can't show off these 3 modes down there, which there are double act alongside with the forms of the other 2 modes right there, because something tells me is about the fact that those 3 other modes right here are locked out behind 2-player mode. So for instance, we have Showdown, Switching Gears, and Double Act. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate about the fact I don't invite my brother Crash Bandicoot with us, because relatively speaking though, he doesn't know what the Joy-Cons are. So because of that though, I'll let him slide as far as this is concerned. Or maybe I should probably invite some toys else for that matter, to able to actually show off some extra content here and there. Apart from one in particular exception to that, however though, which then again no, I think it's probably best if we're able to save that particular topic until next week. So anyway, so let's go back onto Volcano Wario for the second run, and relatively speaking I was about the fact that there are still certain micro games I'm currently missing on. So either way though, so wish me luck I suppose, but before I go into the second run, let me just see how many micro games we are missing for Volcano Wario, which as a result, we are missing, 6 again. To be expected, because as far as I'm usually concerned, that we've almost gotten every single micro games up to that point. I mean, relatively speaking, it's just about the fact that currently right now, we are missing a grand total of 7 micro games so far, which obviously about the fact that it might take me a bit of a while to able to actually, you know, trying to unlock the rest of these micro games on that specific run-throughs like this. So anyway, wish me luck when it comes to getting every single micro games on this stage, because as far as I'm aware, this stage is pretty hard, especially concerning for the fact that I understand this is the grand finale of the main story playthrough, but as far as the forms of trying to able to actually get every single micro games are concerned, well, obviously though, it might take me about a couple of tries and even several reruns every once in a while, just in case I can able to start to improve myself when it comes to like performing some good skills for several micro games as far as this is concerned. So either way though, and relatively speaking, I was about the fact that, well, there's also another thing I wanted to mention about this as well, I guess, is that do you guys even remember during the Informs of Been yesterday about the fact that I love the fact that in WarioWare Move It does manage to contain a micro game based off from Paper Mario the Origami King? Well, suffice to say, it's been 4 years ago since Paper Mario the Origami King has came out on the Nintendo Switch since in 2020. And while looking back on it though, I still find that game to be quite good, even though nowhere near as like perfection, unlike the forms of how it does it in both Paper Mario for the N64, alongside with, of course, Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, especially concerning for the fact that it does have some huge step forward moments in the Origami King with this open world exploration, and on top of all that stuff though, with all that temporarily partners as far as I'm concerned, although there are some still some bad things about it while looking back on it though. Like, I still found the battle system feels a bit, well, it's interesting concept-wise, but execution though, it will be pretty difficult to learn or difficult to master it. Like, I'm not very great at the forms of the Battle Ring battle system for the sake of Paper Mario the Origami King, especially when if you're trying to able to face off against with the forms of those specific boss battles in here and there. And let me tell you, it does require you a lot of memorization to able to get this right, especially if you manage to able to have struggles with that. And don't even get me started in doing the forms of that specific 100% completion run, that not only do you have to able to beat the game once, which is standard, but also you can't afford to get a single game over. And get this, you can't afford to able to use one of your accessories, which as a result, I felt was a little bit mind-numbing to me. Especially, I was assuming about the fact that I can able to use those for its safety handicaps if I somehow manage to come across into tougher battles here and there. But for whatever reason, when it comes to the forms of those specific 3 icons into your save file, then my guess is about the fact that I'm gonna have to play through the entire game all over again, but this time around though with the ultimate challenge. So because of that though, I might not do it right now though, but either way though, in the future though, I might decide to try to do that if it's possible, which as a result, sometimes though, much like the forms of how it does it in Sticker Star and Color Splash, there might be some annoying, frustrating sections from time to time, especially noticeable with the forms of this instant death moments in certain stages. So, and certain locations here and there as well. So either way though, oh jeez, I somehow messed it up. However, if you didn't mess up at one point in several micro games, several people, including animals as well, even some strange things in the background right there, that they'll start able to run away. So because of that though, thinking about the fact that we're not strong enough to stop, you know, Volcano Wario. So, but either way, that's as far as saying goes, that's as far as I can try to talk about. Although, I was originally trying to able to mention something related to the forms of multitude of anniversaries that's been going on, with multitude of Pokemon movies, to be more specifically, 5 of them to be exact. But let's just say we'll probably let Ray the Flying Squirrel will mention more about it if he goes back onto Sonic Rush Adventure until tomorrow. So anyway, let's go back onto Super Wario Dance Company right there. And hopefully though, I'm probably not going to mess this up this time around on my first attempt, but this time on the second run. So, and also as far as I'm aware, it's about the fact that the background looks a bit different this time. So, in addition to that, the music sounds a little bit different. So, even though technically speaking though, if you ever experience multiplayer, specifically in one of those board game modes, in you know, party mode in this game, there's actually technically one of those similar mini games or micro games as this, but usually relatively speaking though, again, we'll save that particular topic if we manage to able to show off some post-game content, including several multiplayer elements in this thing. So, now, if you're probably wondering about the fact that what happens if you manage able to play the entire story mode in 2-player mode? Well, basically though, you're able to take turns to each other. However though, if you mess up at one point in one of those micro games, you're able to actually offer a second chance, and thanks to the phones of the other player, and if you manage to succeed, then you move on to the next, micro game. However, if you lose a micro game, well, you did failed on the, for one of those players, and obviously though you lose a life. So because of that though, yeah, that's as far as I was expecting to mention about that, especially concerning for the fact that, well, it gives you a nice little advantage if you're not knowing what to do for several micro games that usually, as I said before, sometimes the motion controls works fine for the most part, but other times though, it just sometimes not register all that much, to be more specifically, with the phones of the hand model, because I did manage to flap my, hand at one point, but then I did not even, get the perfect accuracy. So, oh well though, no big deal though, but at the very least we now moved on to level 2 variant of, well, anything goes basically for Volcano Wario. So, okay, there we go, so we somehow botched the actual bars, so we can now escape for reals. But either way, nothing else I can really say about the forms of today's topic at this point, especially because concerning for the fact that, well, we've basically done everything in the entire story playthrough, aside from the fact that we can now show off the post-game content now. Well, it wasn't until specifically until on next Tuesday that we can able to show off, any other, extra, content. Well, mind you about the fact that there's not much replayability, unlike the forms of how it does it in WarioWare Gear Together, because as far as I'm aware, that basically, though, for that particular game, that it has jam-packed full of, in-game content, ranging from the forms of multiplayer, as well as the forms of, achievements and all that stuff. Mind you, it's just a shame about the fact that WarioWare Move It does not have missions this time around, which is a shame really, because that gives us a huge opportunity to able to give us a massive replayability if you manage to able to decide to unlock certain things, but unfortunately though, that's not the case. So, oh well, no big deal though. And now I'm down to my last life. And right from the get-go though, we've now come to hand model, and I'm pretty much useless at rock, paper, scissors. So, yeah, that's what happens if you get game over. Volcano Wario did somehow manage to cause an interruption, and as a result, we have no match against with it. So, anyways, so let's see what I, have I got every single micro games on Volcano Wario? Nope. And no matter what though, I'm missing one micro game again. So you know what, folks? I am currently missing. Let's just go ahead and recap on the specific micro games we are missing. So we're missing 2 from Mona, and we're missing 2 from Orbulon, and we're missing 1 for Katanana, and also 1 for Jimmy T, and then the other one for Dribble and Spit, and now we've missed another one in Volcano Wario. Guess what? How many micro games we are currently missing combined? Yes, we are missing 8 micro games in this whole entire playthrough so far. So this means, yes indeed, I have to go all the way back onto those specific stages respectively, within multiple runs, off screen by the way, so hopefully I'll get my chance to able to actually just to show you guys the last 8 micro games we are missing. So, that is, I will say it's kind of annoying, especially concerning for the fact I was doing so well at one point, but then again though, hand model can give me a lot of struggles at one point. So, it's just, I just don't get it. I just seriously just don't get this at all. So, anyways though, but what matters though, what makes it matters though the most is that we somehow got 29 points at the very least. So it's not the greatest run in the world, but I suppose beggars can't be choosers. So I suppose with that being said, folks, is that we get endings off this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of WarioWare Move It. Is that we're about to be exploring onto the next island, which is filled to the brim with extra content, starting with the forms of the mega game muscles, which is basically it's kind of like the similar system as the forms of Dr. Krygel level in WarioWare Smooth Moves, which then again though, I'll talk more about that at some point on Tuesday. So because of that though, yeah, we're about to show off the forms of some extra stuff now. So because of that though, yeah, I will see you guys until on Tuesday. Later, fellas.